Sonoma Raceway is a venue where touring cars absolutely can set sail. It's almost perfectly designed for the agile, nimble, yet very fast machinery, and it is time for the 6th round of the TC America, TCR, TCA, and TC Series Championship. Once again this weekend, great to be sponsored by Crowdstrike. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Sonoma. I'm Greg Creamer, joined by Calvin Fish, along with Ryan Marine. Always love visiting California's wine country, and of course this track is such a technical challenge. And as I said, Cal, suited to these cars, and for the first time that I can remember, all three classes are running here together on this tight, twisty, technical track.
Oh, there's going to be some fireworks, Greg. 26-car field split between the three classes. And when you look at the qualifying times, boy, was it tight. Leading the charge in the TCR. Gonzalez on the pole. He won here last year, but there's barely a tenth between the top three. You move down to touring car, well, it's tight as still. 600s between the front row there. And then when you move down to TCA, we've got 5 drivers within 0.4 of a second. So it certainly bodes well for some exciting racing here this afternoon.
It does indeed. And looking at some of the order here, you talked about Victor Gonzalez. There's a good look at him on the pole here. And let's first take a look at this track. And what this doesn't show is elevation change. And it is abrupt, and most of it happens at apexes.
It really does. There's wonderful flow to this race circuit, but Sector 1 and Sector 2, as you're looking at it on screen right there, lots of elevation change there. This circuit is very abrasive, so tire management, even though it's only a 40-minute race, will certainly play a key in victory here today. And this is another old-school classic racetrack like VIR. You make a mistake here, it can have big consequences, and with the triple-header weekend, you have to really work your way through this opening round to make sure that you've got a car ready for the rest of the way.
Dance a little bit on a tightrope here in these first couple of races. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. And you take a look at some of the classes here. You mentioned Gonzalez on pole, that win last year. That was a study in tire management artistry that he put on. But it's not, you see Johann Schwartz on pole here in touring car with James Clay, Grahovic. All these guys you'd expect to be up there, but Joe Federal, who didn't race at the most recent race at VIR, but had a win, his first ever at Circuit of the Americas, is back. And a young man named Bryson Liu qualifying in the top 5 in the touring car category. We'll talk a little bit about that as we take a look here at the grid. There's Tyler Maxson there on the left, and he is the runaway points leader in this championship right now, undefeated on the season, but out-qualified here. Here is Schwartz on pole with James Clay alongside. Schwartz in that hard motorsports car. That team made their pro debut in this series last year here with Sean Webster. He had a bit of a rough go, but nonetheless, that team now back and with a full season with the defending champion. That can't hurt either.
No, I mean, there's some fascinating storylines before the green here today, and we'll have to see how they evolve, but there'll be some great racing, you know that for sure. There we see the TCA field now rolling off, led by Mejia, who's had 2 wins this year. He has the championship lead, 9 points up on Tyler Gonzalez, and Tyler qualifying back in the 4th position. So he's got a little bit of work to do at 0.3 off the pole, which is not a significant margin. So we'll have to wait and see what he can do in race conditions if he can get to the front, maybe battle out for those big points for the win. Big swing in points here, 7 points between 1st and 2nd. So a championship as tight as it is, it can be a big day for you.
And Roy Fulmer, young man, Roy Fulmer the 4th, young man. This is his debut season as a pro racer, and he's the record holder for the youngest participant ever in the Thunderhill 25. A very young man at this stage, some 17 years old at this point. We watched him at VIR, starting to show some flashes of speed, and here he shows up, qualifies outside of the front row alongside Mejia.
Yeah, that's a great performance, and right behind them, Kevin Bowen, he always puts in great performances. He's 4th in the championship. Been fighting some technical issues, some overheating on that Honda Civic SI. They believe they've got them sorted out, but you know him, he's got so much time around this racetrack. He knows it well, success here in the past.
And you got to give a shout out. Roy Block did a great job in the KMW Motorsports with TMR Engineering, Alfa Romeo Giulietta, in that qualifying run too, to be right up on the front end of this field here, just really, really close, as you pointed out. You see, we have 2 official safety vehicles for this one because the TCA class will have their own green flag, and they will be laying back just a little bit. But this promises to pretty, I think, be just an absolutely fascinating race, and looking forward to seeing it get underway. There's a look at Victor Gonzalez.
This was a qualifying session this morning that was disrupted by Chandler Hall having an off up in turn 1. I believe the car is on the grid and in the field, so there's probably a bit of work to be done there for the BIM World squad. And I think that may have jumbled the order a little bit if we just had a good, clean green qualifying session this morning. With that disruption, maybe people didn't get back out there and find a clear lap. So I love it. I mean, a little bit of disorder on the grid always makes for great racing.
Exactly. Well, and interestingly here, in that qualifying run, Tyler Maxson actually set second quick time, but he now has been moved to the back of the TCR field for a post-qualifying technical violation. Not sure what it is. He didn't have quite the dominant speed we've seen him have at other races this year, and now he can shuffle back just a little bit farther. So he's got his work cut out. That white, primarily white with the orange and black fourth car in this queue here is Tyler. And as I said, undefeated on the season thus far, but this one's going to be, I think, one he's going to have to earn a bit.
He will. He'll have to work hard. He's been used to dominating. As you said, he's unbeaten so far this year, but we've never seen him qualify this far back, and with some really speedy cars up in front of him as well. I mean, the Hyundai has taken a little bit of a performance here, is based on a global balanced performance program. So globally, the Hyundais have been slower a little bit, basically in the power department. So his task is not going to be very easy here today, that's for sure.
I guess if there's any silver lining, is this is a track that's not about outright straight line speed. And if you've got a car that still handles well and is in the ballpark, you can still have a good run.
For sure. So we'll be starting alongside CJ Moses in the DXDT Crowdstrike Honda Civic. But great to see Roy Block after what was already a phenomenal qualifying run, just 1/10 of a second off the pole. Now we'll start alongside the pole sitter up front. Here we see CJ Moses with the Crowdstrike AWS entry.
Certain to be a favorite here this weekend with all the guests, many of them joining us, of course, virtually here for Crowdstrike for one of their tech summits. And it is absolutely great. CJ has really found his form. I think this car has really suited him a little bit better than the GT4 car he was running last year.
It has. I mean, I think each weekend you see him getting a little bit closer to the front row. So we'll see what he can do here today. But he's got some really fast company around him. I mean, those that trio of guys he's up against were only separated by 1/10 of a second in qualifying, as we mentioned.
Yeah, really, really close. Lights out on the Acura NSX, the official safety vehicle of the SRO Motorsports America World Challenge Championship. And that means it is now down to Victor Gonzalez in that white and fluorescent yellow, if you will, machine. You can see the nice gap being created back by the TC cars. Social distancing, we appreciate that, of course. And then another gap back to the TCA machines. Now, again, this is TC America racing, so 40-minute sprint competition.
Gonzalez has chosen pole position on the right here, so
that's interesting, yeah.
So you can make that wide run into turn one stick.
All right, well, we're about to find out. He rolls into the throttle, and we indeed are green. Racing is underway here at Sonoma Raceway. Here's the touring cars. And look at James Clay from the outside. Squeeze play on Schwartz.
That was really tight.
Yes,
see, Maxson is up to third early.
Clay is through.
That is tight there. Look at that.
Oh, and Federal up along the outside of Grahovic, trying to hang on to his qualifying spot in third.
Grahovic is all over him, trying to find a way through here in these opening corners, not let those lead duo get away.
My apologies to Joe, it's Federal. We know that. A little over anxious here as this touring car field. Scout one at that, 12 cars. This is going to be, I think, just some fascinating battling all race long here with this group.
See Grahovic there. Looks like that BMW was tucked down to the apex through the carousel, a little bit better than the Nissan. Things settling in. These probably P0s gradually coming up to temperature here.
First time at speed down into the 7-7A complex. A lot of different ways you can run this corner, options on the track. There's the number 30, Ace Roby, joining Hard Motorsport this weekend.
I like the way you choose the first name over the second one. Yeah, on your car. That's pretty cool. Ace.
Absolutely. Bit of damage there on the 186.
It's for the fourth.
Yeah, it is.
Here continues to lead from the pole.
So
Gonzalez up to third, I believe.
that's correct. And he was back in the order a bit. Well, I guess one spot back, so he jumped up smartly.
Bowen very much in the mix here, running in fifth, qualified fourth. In that gray and orange Civic there, coming down towards the apex of turn 11 there.
He's going to be another favorite here. Look at Johan. Well, those yellow Sabelt gloves flying inside that car, trying to throw it right down to the apex at 2.
He wants to get that track position back. He's all over the back of James Clay here. It's like Federal to really close in on there. He looks to the inside. He is really heaping the pressure on big time right now.
Yes,
and that opens up the door for Grahovic to take a look down the inside of the Nissan.
Just Federal had enough space to be able to slot back in and hang on to it in that white Bossman products.
Bryson Lewis right there as well. It's like a 5-car battle for the lead right now.
Yeah, Bryson, this is great to have him in this championship. A Formula Car Challenge Series, a 17 Rising Star Award in West Coast Formula Cars. Oh, and Federal deep, trying to get to the inside of Schwartz.
That was just brilliant racing there.
Yep.
Johan just didn't give him quite enough room. Joseph had to get up on the curb to make sure he didn't get into the side of Schwartz, so just really classy driving there by both of them.
Well, and Maxon didn't take long, right to the front, did he?
This won't take long, did it? He is to the front and gapping Gonzalez immediately.
We'll have to see whether he's been chatting with Mason Filippi about what happened to you last year in this identical car where you ran the tires off. What do I need to do to avoid that?
Well, it's a great group.
Yeah, it sure is.
He knows them so well. Copeland Motorsports, so making that transition up to TCR, it's been a great one. Just hasn't been beaten yet, and now he takes the car to the front, looking for his 6th win on the season.
Great to see that white and blue Bimmer World TAC Energy car on the grid. That's Chandler Hall, who had a great weekend here last year, had a 4th place finish, and had a big off in qualifying, and which was this morning, and we were kind of wondering, are they going to be able to get that car fixed? Well, we forgot it's the Bimmer World team.
Yeah.
And yes, of course they did.
Yeah, it was a pretty good wreck. He tore up the left front suspension, a little bit of body crunch on the left side, but brought the session to a red flag situation, but it always looked like they'd be able to get it back on the grid. So, and he's going to have a busy U.S. program. He had big plans to run over in Europe this year with the COVID situation. He's elected to postpone that till 2021. So he's ramping up things here, running in touring car and GT4 Sprint X this championship season.
And a couple of developments here. Gonzalez has now moved up there. He is into 2nd spot, got around the 186 of Roy Fulman IV. So that puts him up in a little bit of a gap now that he's going to have to deal with to get to the very quick Tomas Mejia. Who's opened up a little bit of a margin, but that Hyundai Veloster Turbo doing a very nice job. Another newcomer into this championship is Clay Williams, who's running the 3rd Mini here. And he's another one of those guys that came up through West Coast Formula Car competition and the Driver Academy and World Speed Motorsports, etc. And great to have him here. And I asked him, I said, well, how did you get connected with Mini? He goes, well, he said, I've been, a guy named Thomas Mejia and I have been friends for a really long time. So when this opportunity presented itself, we decided to give it a go. And he's great to have on board here as well. And this touring car battle continues. Oh, Schwartz again wanted to get down. He is really anxious to get back to the lead, isn't he, Cal?
He really is. He wants that. He wants that lead. He wants those points. I mean, right now he has the lead in the championship, but by a solitary point over Toby Grahovic, who got that brilliant win in the 3rd round at VIR a few weeks ago. So he recognized the fact this championship could get really tight. Look at him soaring on the wheel there, just trying to control this BMW. Tucks it to the inside. Seems like he's got a little bit more pace possibly than James Clay, but there's a lot of experience there behind the wheel of that Bimmer World entry.
Well, for Johan, he's one of those guys that he just prefers to lead, doesn't he? You know, if he can, he'd rather be out front, control his destiny. And speaking of destiny, right now, Kevin Bowen starting to really put the pressure on Roy Fulmer IV. Roy there in that 186, that sort of multi-hued car, and there's that red and gray number 9, the Crowdstrike AWS entry of Bowen. Bowen, a fascinating story, a 4-time SCCA national champion. This is his first foray into the pro ranks, and DXDT Racing is helping with travel and logistics and the like. But Bowen is of the true club racing mentality, works on the car. He's an engineer for Honda. In his real life, he does it all by himself. And you know, but this is an opportunity. This TCA class, Ryan, provides a great opportunity for club racers to make the step up into pro with SRO.
Awesome. And he's a guy who's been heavily involved in the club racing, and he actually got involved in the SRO America Esports League over the COVID pandemic, the little break that we had there, and the GT Rivals series that the SRO America guys put on Assetto Corsa Competizione, which is, of course, the official sim of SRO racing globally. He really was a revelation in that. He had a blast, constantly running towards the front, and made a name for himself there. And I think it was a really cool opportunity for a lot of these guys in touring cars to race a virtual GT3 car and do it against some really big-name GT3 drivers. It was a fun little exercise while we had a bunch of time on our hands, and Kevin was certainly one of the guys who opened some eyes.
That he did. He was fun to watch here, and we're watching this little scrap. There's Pombo sitting in third, and here comes the rest of the field here. And as you can see now, while you were talking, we saw Roy Fulmer run way wide down in turn 7. And at that moment, both Bowen and Williams were able to slide through. And it looks like Luke Lang may have gone through as well in another of the Copeland Motorsports Hyundais.
Well, it's just how competitive this field is. You have a little bobble like that, you don't lose just one position, suddenly you lose 3. So got to regroup here. He's still got a pretty fast car, but I tell you, he's got a fast car as Johan Schwartz, our championship leader, defending class champion, really piling the heat on James Clay.
And as we're watching him with those runs he has up into turn 2, and you see those gloves flying inside the cockpit, sometimes that means that car is sliding and scrubbing across that cheese grater, as you put it. Is that something he's got to be a little bit mindful of?
He does, but I think Johan's having to work his car pretty hard as well, so I'm not sure if either one is saving more tire than the other in this fierce battle at the front. But up front in TCR, look at that. Yeah. Maxon has just taken off the gap now, up around 3.5 seconds over last year's defending winner here. Gonzalez Jr. Block is having a really strong run in the Alfa Romeo. Such a pretty little car. Great to see it performing well here at Sonoma Raceway.
And Gonzalez was on pole, and to see him in less than 10 minutes be almost 4 seconds back, you wonder if he's not doing what he did last year, and he's just making sure that those tires are going to be strong at the end, because last year in the last 15 minutes he closed up huge.
He did, but also the other factor was, we alluded to, Greg, it was an interrupted session, so maybe Maxon didn't get the maximum speed out of his race car in that abbreviated session there. But I'll tell you, what was really close there was Schwartz almost ran over the top of James Clay there in the turn 11 hairpin. So I think James knows he's just got to hit his marks, position that car in a place where Johan literally can't go around him. He'd have to go over the top of him to get the position away, but he's just going to try and work some magic here. We know that Johan has so much racecraft here, but he can't afford to relax any, because Federal's right there with them.
I was just going to say, Federal in that Federal in that Bossman Products Tech Sport Nissan, how much is he loving driving this car with that new brake package on it? That confidence is back, and he is wheeling it.
Well, that's the key. I mean, the brakes not only just stop you, it makes the car perform in terms of the weight distribution, and then having the confidence that they're going to be working well in a racing situation. Well, that's just the icing on the cake. So he's looking very strong, but he's got a lot of experience in front of him compared to his amount of laps and seat time in his short career.
Yeah, and I mean, he's opened up, you know, I mean, Federal has been able to stick with those 2 leaders, and they're about 2.5 seconds up the road on no less a talent than Toby Grahovic.
Yeah, Grahovic coming off that brilliant victory at the last round of VIR. He didn't show great pace in qualifying, so maybe they've just missed on the setup a little bit. They're going to have to scratch their heads and dig through the notebook tonight to try and get a little bit sharper for tomorrow and Sunday.
This is into that tight 9-9A complex. And then you bend it through turn 10 right here.
It's like Schwartz may have just eased off the pressure a little bit, just maybe trying to get a reset on those tires and let things settle back down again and see if he can surprise James with a move.
I wonder if one of the reasons that into these heavy braking zones why Schwartz has been so good is they've really been working with PFC brakes to really get that car's stopping power dialed, and it looks like the PFC Brakes guys were able to make that happen, just doing a nice job. And up here, take a look at our leader, Tomas Mejia, but 57 of Gonzalez has just been relentless, working his way up and through, and he's closed down a sizable little gap.
Yeah, and this is big. I mean, this is big. I hate to keep harping on about points, but it's such a swing. You know, it's a 14-point delta between finishing first or second, so that's big time when you're battling someone for a championship.
The two of them, you don't often see gaps this big in the TCA category. The margin they've opened up to a talent like Mark Pombo, it's a pretty sizable margin of over 3 seconds right now. And then Bowen and Williams.
I think Pombo had a difficult first lap, so he lost a bit of track position there, and has just lost sight of these guys. So maybe he's just settling in and maybe just trying to save his tires, see if he can come back with a reset of any caution that we may see in this race. But up front, Maxon continues to stretch that lead. Not by a lot, just like 2 or 3 tenths a lap, but that's enough to build up margin to a nice place so that when he encounters lap traffic a little bit later into this race, he can take his time. He's not feeling the urge and the pressure to try and make a rash move.
And with the lead he's got, not feeling the pressure, and also he doesn't have to push too hard and hurt those tires either at this stage, does he? Here's Victor.
Boy, Block staying right there. Great performance from Block in the Alfa Romeo. These cars are so well suited. These little TCR machines just develop great downforce. Little pocket rocket, they really work well. Front wheel drive, 2-liter turbo engine.
Over 300 horsepower.
That's right, I mean different power sticks that they essentially run. So depending on the global balance of performance, that will change a little bit. It should be somewhere 3 to 350 in terms of the horsepower rank.
That Alpha is just such a pretty car as well. Now, this is a good story here. Good. This is the 62. I was talking about Clay Williams, 15 years old, this young man. And he's been racing. He was, since 2010, he started racing in go-karts. And this is what I was talking about. He got recognized, got his NASA competition license in 18, and then got involved with this Formula Car Challenge through World Speed Motorsports, and they're running their Formula Speed car, and was a Rising Star nominee. This is his debut in this type of racing. As I said, the JCW Mini connection came through his friendship with Mejia, but he's running 5th right now in a very, very solid field here in his first time in this type of car. He's done Spec Miata stuff, but this is a very different machine. He's doing a great job.
He really is. He looks really tidy. He's not overdriving the car, hitting his mark, got good lap times. And the nice thing is for him with a triple header weekend, he can just build each day and soak that knowledge away, go to sleep on it.
And the guy that's behind him, interesting story unfolding as well. And we'll talk about that in just a minute as we go back. I think this is Joey Jordan in the number 70, and this is the competition debut of the Mazda 3 TC machine from Cork Sport. And Joey doing a nice job. And of course, we saw Joey a few years ago. He's a front runner in what was then known as TCB, or the B-Spec class. Was very, very fast in the Mazdas there. And putting this together, this Mazda 3 is Mazda's answer to the turnkey touring car racer. And Joey, who's been a driver instructor since he graduated from college at the Porsche Performance Center in LA, and has been doing some world touring just on an adventuresome level, and he's running more adventures than he'd like in a lot of ways, from what I understand. But really good behind the wheel, and nice to have him back and giving this car its debut.
Yeah, and it's a solid debut. So again, big weekend for them with the debut of this car, seeing how it matches up with the competition. And it'll be great for the series to get their eyes and hands on it as well to see what the performance level is like. But up front, you can cover these three with the proverbial blanket, of course. And Clay just seems to be just sitting there, minding his tires and just trying to position that race car. But you know, Johan, if he gets a sniff of the lead, he's going to be going for it.
Boy, and you almost wonder if Federo's not just sitting there. I haven't seen, that car hasn't had a slide. anything, I wonder if he's just sitting back there going, these guys are going to run themselves out here, and I'm going to have something.
Well, there's always a potential factor when you've got two different brands going at it. I mean, this class has been dominated by the BMWs, but it's great to see someone coming in there and giving them a bit of a hard time. Clay doing a really nice job of just withstanding this pressure. He hasn't cracked whatsoever, and I haven't really seen any bobbles or any missed lines or apexes so far, because you know that Johan's so close, he'll take advantage. Looks down at the inside, has to give it up, but he's got to be careful when he swings back out like that. All you need is Joseph to get a little bit feisty.
Yeah.
As Johan's just looking for that drive and getting that bike coming off turn 11 by straightening his hands.
One thing for Clay, I'm noticing in all of the passing areas, particularly into that 9A, tight right, he just shallows his entry in a little bit, but he never overshoots it. He gets the car to rotate beautifully.
Ooh.
Oh,
Joseph in there really deep. That was a big slide for life up the hill there. Fortunately, just as it was getting wide, the elevation kind of grabbed him and kept him on the race circuit.
And Toby would have seen that. Let's see if that lights the fuse a little bit. Boy.
And there's a sense, you just think you can come up to a corner, you just say, I'm going to outbrake this guy, and you just get to that middle pedal, and when you feel the gap with the other car, you know what, he's just carrying that little bit too much speed for me to commit to this and keep pushing through with it. And that's what Johan right now, with the amount of tire life, as we get towards the halfway point, he's dealing with. So Clay is just not giving him that opportunity by overslowing the car and allowing him to slide down the inside and get that track position away from him.
Yeah, Clay just, as you said, so much experience and just a very precise driver, isn't he?
Yeah, and he's just getting off the corner really well there. You could see he can get the power down well, kind of gap Johan by just a couple of feet there coming off.
Now watch Clay as we get up into that turn 9. And this is an overtaking area here, and Johan's not close enough, so he may not do it here, but he's been shallowing up on his turn, and yeah, this time he stays out nice and wide. But he's just been able to pivot that car beautifully and not give an opening to Johan Schwartz and that Pork Snacks Bimmerworld entry, Optima battery support there, as you can see on the hood.
Yeah, and you can see there, suddenly by him not having to do a shallow entry to 9, that then feeds forward as we see a change of position here, I believe, at the front of the TCA field. Gonzalez up front now.
It is, into the lead around Mejia. So now Mejia is the chaser, and Gonzalez the chased.
Just getting back to that moment with the
Yes.
TC leaders, by not having to shallow out the entry to 9, that meant that he had a bit of a gap coming off, and suddenly Schwartz wasn't putting the pressure down into turn 11 by running the shallow entry into 9, compromised Clay's exit at 9,
Yep.
and then you could see Schwartz was always thinking about a move into 11. So it's amazing how it kind of backs itself up from previous corners around this circuit.
Tyler has been impressive this year, hasn't he, in this machine? He's done a great job.
He really has, and this could be a big day for him. Comes into this race 9 points behind. They've both had a couple of wins on the season, but Mejia's been a little bit more consistent with his runs.
Ooh, is that Toby?
Kovic.
Right front. That's chunks coming off. You wonder if there was, it's just speculation, obviously, whether there was contact.
Yep.
Or whatever, but that tire has been cut for sure.
Long way home here, and this is going to really hurt Toby in the championship.
Yeah, that's a long limp at this stage. He's doing everything he can to carry as much speed as he can.
Yeah, came in here
But
just 1 point out the lead for Johan. So Johan, you'd have to think his crew will be telling him what Grahovic's up to and see how far this drops him down the order. And that may change the mindset of Schwartz in terms of how aggressive he is with James Clay as he starts to think about the big picture of the championship as well.
Well, and there are some curbs at this track where that leading edge, if you cloud them really hard, there's even a warning issued in the driver briefing notes that some of the leading edges of the curbs are very, very sharp and abrasive, and you may want to stay off that. And if you get forced into it, trapped into it by somebody, whatever, you don't see Toby make a lot of mistakes, so I have to wonder what happened. And also, Federal has dropped well off this battle, hasn't he? So
Yes.
you wonder if...
Had that little slip.
Yeah.
And that cost him, and now he's lost touch with the leaders. And this is good news for Johan, because he doesn't have to think about rear view driving anymore. Just focus forward on the leader. And he can play around with his lines and get pretty imaginative in terms of setting up James Clay here for an attack on the lead without the Nissan all over his tail.
And interestingly, talking to Johan earlier, he said this still feels like a very new track to him. The first time he raced it was last year, and he said, so it's not like one of those tracks you have a lot of muscle memory in. And he said, so I still feel like a bit of a newbie and a sophomore here. But he said having his team engineer, Brent Tedder, who followed him from the team he raced with last year over to Hard Motorsport, he said he's just got a wealth of information. He keeps us grounded, and he's helping dial up a really good setup here. Pretty obvious.
I think this is a difficult racetrack to learn. It's one of those tracks that has some nuance to it, and you need to find the secrets to get around here as Krujovik makes his way back to his pit box.
And let's get down to Ryan as Grujovik's in.
It was a long limp back to the pits for Toby Grujovic. The crew scrambled to work right away to try and make sure they had a tire ready to go to replace on that right front. I'm trying to get a look to see. You guys probably have a better view of it than I do, frankly, with the camera right there on the state of that car, what kind of damage they're dealing with. It does appear they're having a problem with the air gun at the moment, and it's actually the coupling between the air hose into the gun. They're having to swap that out as we speak, so a bad day just getting worse, unfortunately, for Toby Grujovic, who came off such a promising weekend at VIR, hoping to continue that here, showed great pace in qualifying, but not going to be his day here on Friday, at least, at Sonoma.
There may be some suspension damage, like maybe the suspension is broken, the whole wheel had moved back in to cut itself down. Seemed to me like the wheel itself seemed a little bit off-center to the wheel open.
Right, yeah, I thought so
it's
too.
hard to tell with everything beat up like that.
With these two guys out front like this, I was just noticing in the background, Federal, who's now a little over 4 seconds adrift of Schwartz, he has less than half a second over this young guy, Bryson Liu, who is absolutely hooked up, teammate to Toby Grujovic in that classic BMW camp from Fast Track Racing. And he's another guy like Clay Williams is coming up through the West Coast open wheel and karting ranks. Here's this is CJ Moses working through some traffic, doing a nice job. There is this is an interesting story too. This is a car normally run by Matt Forbush, and got a call from Matt, and he said, "You're not going to see me racing at Sonoma." And he said the reason is he said this is Caleb. Said Caleb and his dad Chad drove all the way from the Midwest out to this race, and he said I flew out here. He's with Signal and the like. He said, I got out here, and he said, but Caleb's, trying to really make a name for himself. He's very quick, and he said, we're a team, and we looked at it, and Caleb's a bit quicker than I am. He's going to represent the company better, and he and his dad have earned this. And he said, so he gave up his car, and he's not running, to let young Caleb Bacon have a go at it here. And Caleb rewarding him nicely. You're knocking on the door of a top 5.
Well, that's a wonderful story, and great testament there to the whole group to analyze the big picture in terms of what they're trying to achieve with their program. And obviously, young Bacon is. Say kind of mustard when he's Bacon. I guess I can.
Hey, if I said Dynasty or whatever it was, I think you could go there for sure. But yeah, he's an impressive young man. Of course, if you wonder, Bacon, that sounds familiar. Yes, he is the grandson of Al Bacon, so that's a good story. And Maxon, up by, as we're into the final 15 minutes, has a 4-second lead. It looks like he's been able to be very precise.
What a way to respond from not grabbing the pole position, then having a technical issue that pushed him to the back, admittedly only back to row 2, but his fast lap is a second clear of the rest of the field. But that's just a visual, but looks like Gonzalez closed in a little bit on this lap or not?
Well, let's find out. It was 4.2 last time by. And it was at this time when he started his charge. About the same.
Sometimes when you see someone coming into a low speed corner and someone else at speed, suddenly
Exactly.
that concertina effect, I'm like, wow, it looked like he's closed the gap. He'd actually lost another 10th of a second to Maxon.
Oh, Bryson Liu, just looking at the scoring, has gone around Federal.
Wow.
So what a debut. I guess this West Coast open wheel karting group is for real.
Yes.
Wow.
There's a lot of great
Sure is.
kart races come out of California to make the upper echelons of motorsport, that's for sure.
Well, and these guys that have been affiliated with that World Speed Motorsport, which as you've known them, I mean, Formula Atlantic's powerhouse for years and very involved now with this Formula Car Challenge Series out here and their Rising Star program and some of the previous winners of the Rising Star. So if you're nominated, it means they see something special. But some of the previous winners, Cal, include guys by the name of Joey Hann, Scott Speed.
Yeah.
It's a pretty stout group. And so that it's a serious program out here.
It really is, and the great thing is when it's such a high level of competition, it just makes these young drivers really learn how to cut their teeth and sharpen their teeth, and when they then move on to the next big step, they've been used to being in the heat of competition at such a high intensity that they seem to grab it with both hands, and it doesn't really faze them.
And Johan will just not let James Clay get away here.
I just feel that he felt through the middle part of this race. He just needed to settle back down a little bit, not overdrive those tires, and just trying to analyze the rear of that Bimmerwell car and see if he can figure out a place on the racetrack where he may have an advantage. But this is a great story here with the 61 car. Pombo chasing down his teammate. So, I mean, his car's gone away from him a little bit as Gonzalez continues to stretch the lead up front. And now it's going to be a difficult scenario. Pombo's not out of this championship yet, so he's just going to give the championship leader the way through to the checkered flag and maximize his point score. He wants to get around him and cut into that lead that his teammate has.
And we're going to have words with Louis Pericarpi, because we could at least in the past tell the difference between those two cars, because the black was on just the hood of one of them, and now, just I'm sure to upset us, he's made them virtually identical. But before we do that, let's get down to Ryan with an update on Toby.
Yeah, unfortunately, Toby is still stranded here in pit lane, and it's as you guys suspected. The team is asking the same questions that you were, trying to figure out if it was a suspension problem first and then the tire went down, or the other way around. And frankly, I think they're going to have to do a little bit of work after the race to try and ascertain the answer to that question, but the result is the same. The car has been stopped here on pit lane for some time at this point, and it's really heartbreaking for Toby, who won race number 3 at VIR. He came into this weekend second in points, trailing by just a single tally, and he's going to have some catching up to do once this is all said and done.
Yeah, and even if traffic playing a bit of a role here, yeah, it looks like really didn't help or hinder either of Clay or Schwartz too much, getting around Damon Scherzerzen, who was one of the drivers in the TCA category, driving the Tech Sports Subaru. Canadian filmmaker, there he is. And yeah, it really didn't affect this lead battle much, did it?
No, I don't think there was really a big swing either way there in terms of the gap. So Schwartz just trying to hang on here, trying to regroup, trying to assess the situation, see if he can mount a challenge here in the last 10 minutes of this race. But Clay's put in a really quality, experienced performance here. He hasn't really blinked.
It's still Mejia hanging in
in
front of Pombo, but for them, maybe of greater concern is Kevin Bowen is closing him up. Right there he is.
Yes, this is a great run by Kevin here, closing in on those minis. There's enough time on the board for him to really have a crack at these minis and get on the podium. Hasn't been on the podium yet this year.
Ooh,
that isn't Bowen. In fact, that's the Crowdstrike TCR
Oh,
car.
that's CJ. Yeah, okay, got it.
Thought he was closing in a hurry.
Yeah, exactly.
Kevin's turned up the wick.
Just a few more ponies under the hood of that TCR machine here. Which just goes to show you that at this track, being as technical and serpentine as it is, you can have a lot more horsepower. You get caught behind somebody in the wrong spot, you're tracking them for a while, aren't you?
Right, those cars, other than the number, do look pretty identical, don't they?
Yeah, I had an issue with that. Here goes CJ now, able to pull out and use some of the grunt. I had an issue misidentifying them, even with them looking different at VIR. Watch this, Gonzalez getting a report. He may have picked, oh yeah, he's picked the pressure up just a little bit, hasn't he? Realizing if I'm going to go, I got to go now. But it looks like he may have been able to take some of that margin back, Cal.
Yeah, it is under 3 seconds here, so not sure whether Max had to encounter some traffic here in the last couple of laps has lost him some of that gap, but Gonzalez is certainly not letting him run away with it. And as you said, he is the master of time management based off of his victory here last year as the group looks on.
The VGMC crew, they had a population explosion in that program in the off-season. Last year it was Victor and a couple of friends that were the whole thing in a small trailer in the lake, and we got to Circuit of the Americas, and there's a big semi-rig hauler with 5 cars under the awning and all this, and he said, oh, we've been busy in the off-season.
Well, he just did such a phenomenal job last year. I think it's inspirational, and people want to come and join the party, so why not? More the merrier.
Absolutely. Well, you got Ruben Iglesias, who's really involved with Fiabru's Motorsports to step in, and that got a couple other guys involved, and the dominoes fell in the right way. And during the long COVID break, he actually started doing a webcast. That's Chandler Hall having a good duel with Thomas Capizzi in the Capizzi Home Developments car. This was where Capizzi had his best finish of the season last year, was right here, and he's 4th right now, and that's where he was last year.
That's going to get dicey with the traffic there.
Yeah.
Just works his way out, Chandler. This is the corner where he went off this morning, just clipped the inside curb, running up the hill, just got out wide and couldn't grab it, and ended up, as we look at the screen, over to the right-hand side on the exit of turn 2 there.
Chandler had a run and may have been able to do something, and had to check up just a little bit. So Capizzi, knowing this is where he got a 4th last year, sits 4th now. He would sure like to repeat that.
Chandler is working him over big time.
Went to the outside, and Capizzi, I don't think, realized he was there and tracked out. And if there wasn't a touch, there was maybe a paper's width between them. We're into 6 minutes to go here. And Capizzi's really did open up a little margin here. Oh, the minis are dueling it out again.
Getting close, getting tight.
That is Pombo to the inside. Driver's left of your screen here.
He's not going to give it up from there, I don't think. So just needs to slow it down enough, keep it nice and tidy. He is going to try and cut back across here, but no, the gap's too big. Position is gone.
That was a great move by Pombo, and then put his car right where he needed it to be. Okay, I guess the mirrors on the car have a little different color.
We'll figure out.
Yeah, in a few races. So
Austin Powers is the one behind me.
Yeah, baby. Gonzalez comfortably up the road right now. Boy, once he got to the front, he has just been able to open it up. And there's a little bit of dicing between these guys. I think they've...
Pombo was in deep there. He got up on the curb on the exit there. And I thought it was going to look really good, but suddenly he just couldn't get the braking done. I think he's still on the white painted curb there and had to really wait to turn the car in. Otherwise, he's just going to go straight. He is pushing that Mini to the maximum here. Under 5 minutes to go. Can he hang on for that runner-up position?
And that's that part of the track 3A that is so, if you're on the limit up through there, it's all about precision, and you get up on that curb a little bit too much.
Yeah, it looked like a really nice line through there up and over the hill, but the braking zone comes up on you so quickly, and you're kind of going up and over cresting the hill there, so it's really hard to modulate your brake pressure there and not make a little mistake and lose some grip. Sunday's been so impressive this year.
It has. It really has. He's just been superb.
Great to see them increasing their motorsports footprint as well. Car off and back on here.
That's Ruben Iglesias, I think, in the touring car entry from Victor Gonzalez Motorsports, the VGMC team. And this road racing thing, watch him here, just a little wide. Ooh. Did the right thing and just straightened the wheel out there.
He did. He did. Ooh, bicycles a little bit. That is a monster save there to keep that out of the tires. Wow. That's basically where Hull went off this morning and ended up sparing the tire barrier.
Well, that's where Sean Webster went airborne last year, and it was almost the same thing. What got him to go was he tapped another car, which acted as leverage almost, and you could see how close Ruben was even without a car there. But I was going to say the road racing thing is quite new to him. He's loving it and relishes the challenge, but his racing experience is primarily in quarter-mile drag racing in the Caribbean, and they're a real powerhouse in that form of the sport over there, Fiebrus and the like, and obviously knew Victor and watched Victor through the years, and they put together this program, and he helped Victor out last year and then decided to really join up and make it a force this year. And he said it's a challenge for him, but it's one he's relishing. But he knows it's a whole different ballgame.
Well, it's a learning curve. And,
yeah,
moments like that, you'll put that way in the old memory bank and recognize when you make a little mistake there what the consequences can be. We say it's an old style racetrack. Well, he certainly nearly bit it big time there, but he managed to do a great job of just keeping it together. But Clay has just been impeccable here today. I know there's still a couple of minutes on the board. You know Johan's going to keep digging. About a lap and a half to go.
Okay, watch in the background. Oh, Gonzalez couldn't get the car woed down.
Yeah, he's just pushing. I mean, that gap has been around 3.5 seconds now for 2 or 3 laps, and he recognizes now's the time to attack if he's got anything left, but just asking for a little bit more this late in the going. Front end wouldn't respond. Probably didn't lose that too much time, actually. So you're in the dirt, just getting the tires cleaned up is the biggest factor by the time you get to the brake zone for turn 11. But actually shortcutting the circuit like that and releasing the brakes, if you really lost too much there.
I just want to point out there's a new award this year called the Crowdstrike Fast Lap Award for the TCR class. It goes to Tyler Maxson thus far at a 149.561 that he put in. Looking in the other categories, it looks like it'll be Schwartz in TC with a James Clay has a 155.9, so he might get it. And just a glance at TCA, the fast lap there looks to be a 159 flat, I think, by Mark Pombo. So let's give you an idea of who's doing what in the category here. And check that, it would be Schwartz. I was looking at the wrong column. Listen to this. Fast lap for him, a 155.205. Clay, a 155.208. Doesn't get a whole lot closer than that as we are on our final lap. There's Tyler Maxson for Copeland Motorsports. And that... the
unbeaten season, can it continue? Gonzalez there. They said he didn't really lose much, still at 3.5 seconds despite that little off-course excursion in turn 9 on the previous lap. Got a bit of traffic up ahead. But
that's Federal,
yeah, if this gap was like 1.5, 2 seconds, could be a different story. Touring car. James Clay just unflappable.
Yeah, just great racecraft by both of these guys. Well, this is it.
The key is there. Clay didn't have to defend. He can focus on his line through here, which should give him good exit speed coming off of turn 9.
Now that is Bowen. That is the TCA entry. And he's going to give them plenty of room.
It's close enough, though, Greg.
Yeah, I agree.
Now, this is not their final lap.
That's true.
So it's the TCR's final lap. They've got another lap to play with, I believe.
And Johan got a pretty good drive out of 11 that time. All right, here we go. Maxson working his way toward the checkers. He was able to sneak around Federal. One last time to turn 10. You can see Gonzalez in the background, but boy, Maxson, what a start to the year. He's going to earn win number 6. Just has to get through one more little bend here. Onto the front straight. Tyler Maxson, 6 for 6 on the season in TC America TCR category. That's just remarkable.
It really was. That was a great performance. Boy, did he find some speed here in the race. I mean, again, maybe we didn't see his true potential in qualifying with the interrupted session. Clay floating speed through the carousel. Schwartz not letting him get away and take it easy here on this final lap.
All right, one last time down into turn 7.
It's going to take a slip by Clay. I just don't think that Johan is close enough to him. He seemed to squirt the gas pedal, just trying to inch up on him. But then as you come off of there, Clay gets the drive.
Through the S's. Up and over this little rise, you'd normally, well, with the old configuration, you turn right there.
And here we see Gonzalez leading TCA, but unfortunately for Schwartz, I don't think that traffic is going to interrupt Clay.
Boy, and Pombo was able to open up a pretty little margin there. Here we go. Well, it might.
It might,
yeah.
But I think they should just be able to roll through Apex without any interruption on speed.
Yep, I think you're right. Here we go. Gonzalez coming through to add another win to his 2020 season. First season with TC America and SRO. So Copeland winning 2 of the 3 here. And there goes James Clay. He brings it home with a win. Bimmerworld back in victory circle in World Challenge. That sounds righteous, doesn't it? So many years.
Yeah, that's going to be a big swing in the points. They could be tied, actually. Grahovic having trouble here today. He's going to plummet down the order somewhat, but Clay came in here with a 7-point deficit, and that should give him that margin back.
That's a great point, yep. So there's Tyler, who has completed his well-earned cool-down victory lap. And as we said, on a global level, and it's a global organization that controls all the BOP with this TCR, they did hand a little bit of an adjustment to these velocitors, but Tyler didn't let it bother him.
No.
So here's a look at the overall results here, and if it's a white number with a black background, that's your TCR. Black number with white is TC, and white number with gray is TCA. And how about that finish by Bryson Liu? And Capizzi hanging on over the attack of Chandler Hall for those last couple of laps and matching his best finish of last year. Tom Capizzi and the Capizzi Home Development Center is going to be delighted with that.
Yeah, it's a great performance by Liu, grabbing that
impressive
podium run here late in the going. Awesome job.
And the driver that we didn't mention much was Tazio Otis, who is driving the Tazio Otis Racing Honda Civic, who has made, this is his first race in the championship as well. Just wanted to acknowledge a good start for him, and it's brand new for him, so he's got some learning to do, obviously. And here we go in the TCA category. Gonzalez with the win, but Pombo and Mejia rounding out the podium. Bowen 4th, and then the 3rd of the minis in young Clay Williams' hands, rounding out the top 5. Here's Tyler Maxson out of that Copeland Motorsports Hyundai. He will have loved how that unfolded here. There's Victor.
Probably be a little bit disappointed. I mean, when you have the pole position and you don't win.
Yeah.
So it was a question of, well, but he gave it 1,000,000%. Closed
Sure
in
did.
on the leader at the end, so just ran out of time.
Gets out of the car and still has a nice win. And Roy Block faded a little bit there at the end. I think he had a couple of issues in traffic and lost touch and the like. But well, the first third of that race, he was not letting any of them get away, was he?
Yeah, crew there are taking the vital tire pressures after the event, see if they peaked a little bit, see if they can make some adjustments and tweak on it a little bit, find some pace overnight, but still a solid performance for Roy.
Nice group here, this big combined group, and it makes for interesting racing, doesn't it, when you got the 3 different classes and, you know, pretty big gaps in speed between the classes, so it means really playing that high-speed game of chess as best you can. Here's a look at some of the highlights. You can see James Clay right there put the squeeze on Johan. He got to the front side by side right there with Grahovic and Federo was able to hang on, and he was able to deal with him for a while, and Maxson started his march toward the front.
Yeah, he put the pressure on big time in this touring car battle. Was sensational. It seems like that outside lane, if you choose it for your pole position, as we saw earlier, can certainly work. Then Grahovic, who came in this race, only 1 point out of the championship lead, major drama there.
And then late in the going, when Victor Gonzalez started to amp it up just a little bit, had a little bit of brake lockup, was pushing so hard. Here's that fabulous battle with Tom Capizzi and the Capizzi Home Developments BMW over Chandler Hall in the TAC Energy entry. big moment here for Ruben Iglesias. Watch this, Cal.
Up on 2 wheels, keeps it together.
But at the end, it was Maxon coming through, keeping his perfect season intact. And in the TCA category, Copeland Motorsports winning there as well. And again, a big win for in the TC class for James Clay. And let's get down to Victory Circle with our overall and TCR winner, Ryan.
Well, like you said, Greg, Tyler Maxon has definitely stamped his intentions all over this TCR season. A perfect start. This one maybe a little bit off script because you had to start at the back of your class, but man, it didn't take you long to get to the front, did it?
Yeah, no, the Copeland Motorsports guys had our Hyundai Veloster and TCR absolutely hooked up today. We've had a little bit of struggles with this new BOP that starting at this weekend. We really lost a lot of our handling and we're really struggling there. So we were working as long hours into the night on Wednesday trying to get this car hooked up, and they really did. They got this car absolutely on rails.
Last year, the team spent a lot of time out front here only to fade late. What were you thinking about trying to keep the tires under you, knowing that some of the guys behind you have some experience saving tires and charging here at Sonoma?
Yeah, to be honest with you, we didn't really have time to save. We were absolutely just pushing the entire time. We really didn't have much of time to save. We were just trying to get everything out of the car every lap.
I'd say mission accomplished. Congratulations on yet another win.
Thank you.
Yeah, well, the team coming up with some tweaks and adjustments apparently, and Tyler able to extract what he had to.
Yeah, from what he said there, it sounds like the balance of performance may have been more than just power. Maybe something with the handling, ride height, or something like that, or weight even.
So they dealt with it well, but let's get right back down to Victory Circle with a busy Ryan Marine.
And the other half of a perfect race from the Copeland side of things in terms of a couple of victories. Tyler Gonzalez here. Tyler, you had to do some battle with the minis over the course of that race. You put it out in front. How did you keep it there?
Yeah, you know, I just want to thank Copeland Motorsports for a great car. They really did it all, honestly. We went out there, got a good start, came from fourth. Just really tire management is huge here, so that was kind of the key to the race, if I would say.
What did you learn here in race one that you hope to apply to the final 2 races of the weekend?
Definitely just strategies, you know, being able to sit behind the competitor is really a good advantage.
It's a second straight win for Tyler Gonzalez dating back to VIR Race 3. Well done.
Thank you.
Yeah, that was just a superb run that he put on and confirming that tire management. And, you know, if you save a little bit, it gives you the opportunity to be able to come back and put the drive on he did late and just put a stamp on it here over drivers of the caliber of Mark Pombo and Thomas Mejia, Kevin Bowen, and welcome Clay Williams.
Yeah.
It's going to be fun to watch
Top
as well.
5. That's an awesome run for him, that young man.
Absolutely, and for Caleb Bacon, and again, a nice shout out to Mr. Forbush for giving him that opportunity. But let's get right back down to Victory Circle with our touring car winner, BMW, Bimmer World, and James Clay back in Victory Circle, Ryan.
And what a race it was in the TC category. James Clay, you had your hands full with our defending class champion. It seemed like that whole race. How did you keep Johan behind you?
Well, you know, first of all, I'd like to say I'm super thankful to be traveling in California and in the backyard of one of our sponsors, Redline Oil, who's just right over the hill. So they're here watching today, and we had to put on a show. At the start, I managed to get a great one, and I felt really good about that, settled into first. But then Johan kind of clawed back, and you know, he was side by side for a little bit. I snuck on by, but I knew I was just watching his headlights the whole time, and they were, you know, managing the gap, but you know, and managing my tires, but that was what it was. It was a game of management today, and I think we had the car for the long run, and you know, I guess we made it work.
Puts you right back in the thick of the points championship as well. Do you think about that at all, or is the focus just on going out and getting results in each individual race?
Man, we're here to win races. We're here to win a championship. This Pork Snacks car is going to go to the front.
Sounds like a plan. Congratulations.
Thank
well
you.
done.
Thank you.
He is quite a character and quite a guy as well, and just a pleasure to have them back with us. Here's a look at those results. And again, another big story there with that Bryson Liu. Fascinating to see that, and carrying the classic BMW colors after the problems for Grahovic, but Capizzi and Hull, that was a great battle as well. Interesting to find out what happened with Federo there, who was so quick early and then faded back to
He made
sixth.
that little bobble there, and I don't know if he just lost the confidence in the race car or the tires were going away, but either way, he'll try and regroup and make a car that's a little bit better in the longer run, because for the first half of this race, he was very strong indeed.
Yeah, and there you see newcomer Tazio Otis in the top 10 in his first race out. as well in the Taziotis Racing entry. So just a superb drive by him as well. Great racing throughout all 3 of the classes, and once again, it's a triple header weekend for 2 of them. We get to see that. Touring cars will run again as well tomorrow. We do hope you tune in and enjoy it as we bring you the call here from Sonoma Raceway in California wine country.